Making yourself 1% better 10 times happens faster and works better than improving yourself by 10% at once. 6 ways to improve efficacy. Number 1, pick a challenging and possible goal. Number 1, pick a challenging and possible goal. Choose a self-discipline project where you think on the no, yes, maybe continuum. You got some yeses and some maybes, okay? You ask yourself to do something ridiculous if you have 100% full willingness in every category of this project ever. You can think you can do it all. No, ridiculous. Some things you'll think, okay, I can manage this. Some stuff you'll go, maybe I can do it. And when you have that sort of interaction with yourself, you've probably chosen something pretty good. You want high levels of efficacy in some areas and maybe even sketchy efficacy in others when you add it all up. If you have extremely high efficacy in every category of your goal ever, well, then you've just chosen something trivial. Congratulations. Yes, I can do my times tables. I have high self-efficacy. If I do that, do I accomplish anything aside from doing times tables again? No. So you want to have that little bit of tension to go, you know, if you start making that noise internally or externally, probably a good sign. You got to take a second to do I really think I can? If you ask that, good job. Okay. You want high levels of confidence in some areas and, some level oh yeah, okay, maybe. So Perry went from 240 to 180 pounds. He started with the initial objective of just recording what he ate. Just recording what he ate is the first thing he did. And when he did that, he learned a lot about himself and he realized he took away many hidden, he called them hidden sources of calories, kind of a common phrase. So did he change the way he ate when he recorded what he ate? He absolutely did. He changed by virtue of whoa, I did a silly thing there. That makes very little sense. I could just do less of this and more of that. And he ended up piecing all sorts of puzzle pieces together by himself and gave himself little wins that way. Depending on who you talk to, some people call that measurement reactivity, Hawthorne effect, whatever. He became aware, made himself aware of the things that he did. And when he did, it started changing the way he acted in alignment with the values he had, which then improved his efficacy all the same or on top of it. Okay. So as a result of tracking, he kept doing the things he liked to do and eliminating a lot of the ways that he sabotaged himself on accident. So after his initial success, he took the same approach by measuring his activity. He says, may as well have called me it's I thought I would actually feel bad after finding out I moved so little, but it gave me great perspective. Now, in a lot of situations, the exact opposite would happen. You'd see this measurement and go, oh my God, I'm a piece of shit. Okay. Can you believe it? The first time you step on a scale after 10 years and you gain a bunch of weight, you go, man, I'm a piece of crap. What happened? So in a lot of other situations, that sort of stuff happens. And for the exact opposite happened because with his previous successes, he got excited to master something new. Self-efficacy in action. He made simple changes here and it improved his beliefs that he could succeed there. And since both of those things contribute to his overall goal, that efficacy ended up making a serious and useful transfer. So Perry started where he thought he could do well. Tracking food worked, so I'll start tracking my movement, what movement I did have. And then from there, he started to take on challenges he thought as ridiculous compared to before. This leaves us with numero dos. Number 2, shifting away and toward seeking mastery. Shifting away from an outcome-based attitude and towards seeking mastery. Seeking mastery. What does that mean? Mastery seeking attitude. Every reasonable goal, small and large, reduces to skills. You can reduce it to skills that in the process of mastering them, you reach the goal as a side effect. So instead of, can I become a nutrition expert? You ask, can I read a few pages of a nutrition science textbook when I get home from work? Going by example, he got put off by what the physician demanded of him. 60 pounds? What are you, crazy? 60 over 60? Maybe eat the same as I did before and track what I eat? Okay, reasonable, which you saw the benefits of a minute ago. Work out every day?
Do you work out?
The old workout line.
F that. What does that even mean? Exactly. I just found out I have a watch that already tracks my steps. So I started including that with my food records. Okay, reasonable. Which again, you saw the benefits of doing. So this leads us to efficacy and sort of the domino effect or the big domino. If you know the major goal and know the behaviors it takes to get you there, then you can take one of those behaviors and plan to practice it just enough for you to honestly tell yourself, you know what, I can do this. And each time you evaluate the data data. You evaluate the data you've gathered during your practice. Every day we get to practice a lot of these skills. You can see your efficacy improve. Every day you gather the evidence, you can become the person it takes every day. And the more you realize you can become the person it takes, the more you will do what it takes to become that person. And it turns into a pretty cool virtuous cycle, the big domino, the virtuous cycle. Let's go to number 3. Track your skill development. Seeking mastery. How do you know you've mastered? And you check the data. So you will see meaningful improvements in your skills far faster, far simpler, and with far greater efficacy or accuracy than you will see progress towards your huge mondo goal. So if I want to become a movie star or lose 100 pounds or squat 1,000 or whatever, these goals we have so mondo and glorious, so far away that even when we do make progress, that relative change amounts to approximately 0. So you will see legitimate improvements in your skills much faster. You can use much simpler methods to see developments in those skills, and you can get it more accurate that you made progress. So the difference looks too small to matter, and it will feel like nothing if you have this mondo goal 5 years out and make a little bit of progress now. Feels like nothing. It amounts to nothing. Economists call it hyperbolic discounting, where you look into the future and go, well, that don't mean okay? So we can artificially change that time horizon by looking at skill development instead. So knowing that you've started mastering the skills and you've got proof that you mastered them, it does mean something. As you practice the skills relevant to your goal, you will inch closer and closer to the ideal. In behavior science, we call it successive approximations. Making yourself 1% better 10 times will happen much faster and work much better than making yourself 10% better. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's do that one more time. Making yourself 1% better 10 times happens faster and works better than improving yourself by 10% at once. Now, this leads us to number 4, realizing your progress. I use realize here in a slightly technical sense, like you can actually see it versus like, ooh, eureka moment, I realized something. So when I say you realize progress, it means you set yourself up so that you can actually, like the evidence makes itself obvious, you have progressed. So you realize it. In powerlifting, you might realize your progress before a big weightlifting meet by taking a few days off so that you recover, and then you can lift more than you did before, to give you a sort of idea, okay? You realize your progress in a lot of places, at least in sport, that way. So what does that mean for us? What does that mean for you? When you expect to fail, you look for signs of failing. And when you look for signs of failing, you distract yourself from doing the stuff it takes to succeed. And then guess what? You suck.
You suck, you know that? You really suck.
And so you may think that because of the screw-ups in the past, it dooms you to screwing up forever. Now, I would say that's quite reasonable, but no, quite common, yes. It actually it deviates from rational thinking 10 ways to Sunday. Common enough though, common sense, as it were, okay? With successive approximations, these frequent 1% bumps in performance, you develop new skills, which means you can do new things, which means where you failed then, you can succeed now. And for many of us, we focus on the failures even if we want to see improvements. For that reason, keeping records comes to the rescue. If you make yourself look for signs of progress, well, then you start looking for progress more often and your efficacy improves. So have a reasonable way to compare where you came from to what got you here. You did make progress, and it will have an impressive difference when presented in a reasonable way. When you go from then to now, okay, then to now in relation to your super mondo goal, well, then you've made this much progress, okay? Now, if I want to get to 5,000 steps and I started at 2,000, well, then after a month, I go up by 1,000, like, okay, bam, I made legit progress in the skill of walking, the best skill ever, by the way. So suspend the negative judgments about yourself until you've racked up a number of those 1% improvements. And by the time you've done that, you've gathered enough evidence it takes to know you can succeed because you have proof you did it. Now, this means that you can decide, okay, now that I have proof that I have gotten a decent level of mastery at this skill, and I have the data to back it up, has this skill actually contributed to the goal? That asks a different and still relevant question. If somebody wants to run a marathon and they want to lift weights and they see their deadlift going up every week, they have proof that their deadlift got better. They can pick heavier stuff up off the ground every month. Does that necessarily make them a faster marathon runner? No. And so by putting the time in, or rather putting in the reps and the rest so that you can tell I've made a legitimate progress, you can then make a fair comparison of did putting time and effort into mastering this skill get me closer to where I wanted to go, okay? And then working with TKN helps you to discriminate with those sorts of things ahead of time. It cuts back on that sort of trial and error crap. Hopefully that makes sense. Keeping records, like in number 3, makes this accurate, simple, and accessible, leading us to number 5. Number 5, so you can feel bad and still make progress. You can feel bad and make progress. You can do them both at the same time, even when a situation sucks. Negative emotions make your efficacy plummet in a lot of cases. If something crappy happens and you feel bad and you start sulking around, like, everything sucks and why bother doing anything? It's just gonna fail. If you feel bad, then you think you'll do bad, and then you'll do worse than normal because of it. And this confuses reality. It deviates from the facts. It distorts the situation. Strong emotions make stuff feel harder. They just do. But what you have to do still takes the same amount of effort and skill as before. Skill you know you have because you've kept records and compared it to the previous, so you know you've made progress. Aha! So if there's something feels really shitty today and I know it's gonna suck and I know I'll fail, well, I have proof I did this before, and it takes the same amount of time and energy, it takes the same amount of skill then, and I have that much skill now, so it follows I can still do this thing. I can still stick to my plan. I can still go to the gym. I can still call up my mama and wish her a happy birthday. All these things take the same amount of skill, and that skill you have stays the same whether you feel good or bad. So feeling emotional in the present tends to come from something in the present context that you had a negative experience with in the past. Let's say you got 10 out of 10 free throws, okay? You're just sinking them. And then your arch nemesis from kindergarten walks in and he gave you a wedgie, and then he gets you all nervous and freaked out and you start missing. Does that make any sense? No. Common though. You have the same amount of basketball skills you had before. Something interesting to consider. I felt bad and I performed worse, even though I had the same level of skill. And, technically speaking, the physiological reserves, et cetera, et cetera. So when people think their body is trying to send me signals, my body speaks to me, I have to listen to it. Take a step back. That conditioning from the past just distracts you from the present. If you feel bad about something right now, you feel bad because something in the environment represents some bad thing that happened in the past that probably has nothing to do with what happens right now. Does Biff, the wedgie-giving bully, have anything to do with basketball? No. And even if it did have something to do, maybe beat him at basketball, does that mean your skill at basketball changes? No. Okay? If you could do it before and you did because you have proof, you can do it now. Instant efficacy. Okay, now number 6. List situations your problem behaviors occur and rank them by difficulty. In short, we all do dumb shit that screws up our progress. Now, instead of saying, I always screw up and I fail, why bother doing this anymore? I'm such an idiot. Dramatizing and downing yourself and despairing and demanding, I must do better, etc. Well, you can actually take a step back and say, what situations do I screw up? You will screw up in more situations than others. And this, I saved the best for last. It gives you the keys to this kingdom. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You screw up a lot. I screw up a lot. You also screw up more in some situations compared to others. When you wake up and think, I'm just gonna fail no matter what I do, I'm an idiot, I have to do well or else I'll die. Why? And again, okay, what if I die? Why bother? Who cares? So that's just the language patterns end up going around in circles. Emotions hold you back because you learned to let them. This means good things though, because if you learned one way, then you can also learn another. As an aside, the best performances often occur when masters feel bad. Going to the Olympics feels good after training 4 years in a row, even if you take a week off. No, people have trained themselves into the ground and they feel like crap. If you look at some of the hormone profiles of those people, the ones that keep it straight, you can tell they've beat the living out of themselves. Nothing about their situation looks optimal, by the way. That means very good things for us. The best performances often occur when we feel bad. So you can make yourself aware of your emotions, you can acknowledge them, and then you can press on anyway. That sums up our summary. Thank you so freaking much for hanging out with me today. I loved having you. Thank you for learning. Stay rational. Until next time, Dr. Kashey out.